huge pickups. Every car and truck is clearance price to move. Hurry in, because on September 20th, the best deals of the year are gone. Don't miss it. See your Ford dealer today.
Are you ready? Are you ready, ready, ready? Are you ready for some real food?
You know, I'm here 5 o'clock every morning, baking biscuits from scratch. The only biscuit you'll get at Hardee's is a fresh baked biscuit.
And right now, our cinnamon raisin 2-pack, biscuit and gravy, or sausage biscuit is just 99 cents.
Are you ready for some real food? Hardee's.
The body of a college-age girl found by a roadside in Missouri. We'll have the details at 10.
CBS News Special Report. I'm Connie Chung in New York. Good evening. President Bush is about to address the nation from the White House on Hurricane Andrew relief efforts. Mr. Bush returned tonight from his second visits to Louisiana and Florida since the hurricane struck last week. In Florida today, he pledged the federal government will pay for the cleanup. Mr. Bush also promised the government will rebuild Homestead Air Force Base, which is crucial to the South Florida economy. Here now is President Bush.
Good evening, everyone. 8 days ago, the people of South Florida and Louisiana were confronted by perhaps the most destructive natural disaster in our history. Tonight, I want to report to the nation on the aftermath of Hurricane Andrew and the effort required to help Andrew's survivors back on their feet. In the past week, I've twice visited Louisiana and Florida. And in Florida, where the storm was strongest, up to 250,000 people have lost their homes. Many huddled beneath the busted timbers of what was once a living room or a kitchen. There's no running water, no electricity. Little children are left without even a toy to play with. In the aftermath of Hurricane Andrew, a relief effort has risen, unprecedented in size and impact. And tonight, as we speak, almost 20,000 troops are on the ground, assisting in everything from providing meals to erecting tent cities. Basic human needs, food, water, shelter, and medical assistance are being provided. In Florida, a curfew is in place, and the National Guard and local police patrol the streets. It's a tribute to these officers and to the people of this region that looting has been kept to a minimum. Social Security checks are being delivered on time. Financial help is being made available to families who've lost their homes and their jobs. This relief effort has generated incredible cooperation. My thanks go to so many people who slept so little the past 8 days, to state and local government officials, federal agencies, private charities, and the heroic men and women of the United States military. Most especially, my appreciation goes out to the volunteers. When we arrived in Florida, some of the first people we met were from South Carolina, victims of Hurricane Hugo, who had spent the night driving so they could help others through their ordeal. We met doctors and firefighters spending sleepless vacations lending a helping hand. Through the eloquence of their action, I've been reminded that America will always be a nation of neighbors. Although the relief effort is well underway, urgent needs still exist. And so tonight I make a special appeal to the generous spirit of the American people. People in Florida and Louisiana want to stay in their homes. They're in desperate need of rolls of plastic to cover open roofs, lumber to board up walls, and cots to sleep on. They also need diapers and baby formula and other infant supplies. And fresh volunteers are needed to staff medical facilities or help with the cleanup. Right now, America's churches and charities are mobilizing to meet these needs. And I encourage all Americans to pitch in any way you can. If you don't know where to turn and you want to help right now, please call the American Red Cross at 1-800-842-2200. 1-800-842-2200. Once our relief effort is complete, we will accelerate the process of recovery. Already today, we announced plans to rebuild Homestead Air Force Base, the linchpin of the economy in devastated areas. And a distinguished Florida business leader, Alva Chapman, has agreed to head a national private sector effort to help rebuild South Florida. It's called We Will Rebuild. This effort has my strong support and the support of Florida Governor Childs. All of us are in this for the long haul. If you want to be a part of this effort, please write "We Will Rebuild." And the address is Post Office Box 010790, Miami, Florida, and the zip code is 33131. In the past 8 days, we've seen on our TV screens real tears, real sorrow, real hurt. Livelihoods have been destroyed. Lives, even young lives, have been tragically lost. But already in Florida and Louisiana, we're talking not just of relief, but of recovery. This is a tribute to what is inside us. And yes, Andrew blew a whirlwind of devastation, but he could never extinguish the American spirit, a spirit of compassion and sacrifice and endurance. We have seen that spirit in action the past 8 days, and with this spirit and your enduring commitment, our neighbors in South Florida and Louisiana will recover. Thank you for your generosity, and our prayers are with all who stood in Andrew's path. Good night.
As you just saw, President Bush announced that a special phone number has been set up for those wishing to contribute to a Red Cross hurricane relief effort. If you missed it, we'll repeat that number in just a few minutes. But first, let's go to White House correspondent Susan Spencer. Susan, there are some people who might consider the purpose of this speech tonight as political, don't you think?
Well, Connie, I think there probably are some that will. I must say, I never expected to see the President of the United States on television giving out 800 numbers, no matter how worthy the cause. To me, this speech showed a couple of things. It showed, first of all, how deeply concerned the White House has been over criticism of the relief efforts, and how worried many have been here that Mr. Bush might be blamed for problems created by, in fact, what, as he said, was one of the worst natural disasters this country has ever seen. There's a determination here now, as you saw from today's trips and from tonight's speech, to make sure that doesn't happen, that instead that the picture the public gets is of the commander-in-chief in charge, handling a domestic relief effort almost personally. The other thing that this brings home to me tonight, Connie, frankly, is the power of the incumbency in an election year. This is the president. This is also candidate Bush, we have to remember. And here's a man who can walk into the Oval Office and give a 5-minute uninterrupted speech to the American people. Connie?
All right, thank you very much. Susan Spencer. We'd like to repeat now the toll-free phone number President Bush announced just a few moments ago. Those wishing to contribute to hurricane relief efforts in Florida and Louisiana should call 1-800-842-2200. Again, that Red Cross number is 1-800-842-2200. Or you can write, "We Will Rebuild," P.O. Box 0107990, Miami, Florida 33131. Now, for many of you on the West Coast, we'll be back shortly with the CBS Evening News, and there will be more on this story on your late local news, Up to the Minute, and CBS This Morning. For now, I'm Connie Chung, CBS News, New York.
This has been a CBS News Special Report.
Experience CBS News.
Last century, his identity has remained a mystery until now. The gripping climax of Jack the Ripper. He came calling only at night.
Come in.
And only on women.
There's been another one. What are we going to do? All these women killed.
Was he someone they knew?
Richard, that's wonderful.
What kind of man am I looking for?
Or was he something far worse?
How would I recognize him?
He's what we call a psychopath.
Now the truth can be told.
This one is terrible.
The identity revealed.
He's killed 5 women!
The exciting climax of Jack the Ripper. Next.
For over 100 years, the murders in Whitechapel committed by Jack the Ripper have baffled the world. What you are about to see is a dramatization of those events. Our story is based on extensive research, including a review of the official files by special permission of the Home Office and interviews with leading criminologists and Scotland Yard officials.
In the autumn of 1888, London's huge metropolis was gripped by fear.
Bloody Whitechapel! Get the stuff!
On the teeming streets of Whitechapel, women were being torn to pieces by a killer who vanished in the shadows, time after time. So terrible was the savagery that the world remembers it still. Jack the Ripper. Leading the manhunt was Scotland Yard's Inspector Frederick George Aberlin.
Mary Nichols was a shilling whore. She wasn't killed for money, she didn't have any. And according to the doctors, she wasn't even sexually assaulted. Yet somebody tore her to pieces in the street.
So find him.
Let me know if you hear anything, Connie.
Of course I will, Georgie.
I've seen him. The killer.
You saw the killer? In a vision?
Look for a man with two faces.
Is this what you saw in your vision?
Not exactly, Miss Prentice. The hair is too long.
With shorter hair. You know who he reminds me of? Richard, that's who it is. Richard Mansfield, the American actor.
Mr. Williams, what exactly is madness? Is it possible to be half mad, like normal 1 minute and insane the next? A saint and a beast, you mean? Yeah. And one human being.
What do you want, Freddie?
Everything you know about Mansfield.
Mansfield?
But you don't think I'm caught up in all that, do you?
All of what? I would just like to meet the man who gave you your other face.
I'll never forget that coach, Inspector. I've ridden in it, you see, when I went to see the Queen.
The Queen?
What exactly are these rumors about her grandson, Prince Albert Victor?
Well, they say the prince has been seen in a house of ill repute, Prime Minister.
Where?
Whitechapel, in the very area where these murders are taking place.
If I'd been born on the right side of the blanket, I'd have been a top surgeon by now. It's in the mind.
My name's Lusk. George Lusk. I'm
Chairman of the so-called Vigilante Committee. I wonder when you were going to show your face.
I'll show you more than a face, Aberlin. I'll show you 100 armed men.
The East End of London is out of control.
What are you waiting for, eh?
On the last day of September, the Ripper's reign of terror reached new heights. The first victim on that night was Elizabeth Stride in Berners Street. The second was Catherine Eddowes, less than a mile away in Mitre Square. But worse, much worse, was still to come.